I feel like there's writing as an output and something we consume, but there's also writing, as Neil, you expressed at the very beginning, as a form of thinking. So what happens when we detach writing from learning? And can we do that at all? Or is writing core to how we, particularly in that phase of our brain development, learn to think?
Well, let me put it like this. When conveyor belts were invented, we could have eliminated walking. We could actually have made it possible to go everywhere on conveyor belts. And we could probably have made them quite fast. I see quite fast ones at some airports. But the point is that actually we all go, I bet all three of us go to the gym quite frequently. And we actually embark on physically difficult activities that are pointless, except for the fact that they keep us fit. And most students that I see at Stanford look to be in pretty good shape physically. But for some reason, we don't apply the same rules to our brains. Now, the point about writing is not that everybody should write a novel. In fact, I wish I could stop people writing novels. Far too many novels get written. And I wish I could also cut down the number of op-eds that are written.
If we could do one thing for the world, it would be to decrease the number of op-eds. I mean,
please, people, write less. Most of you really don't write anything that interesting. But the point is that in learning to think on the basis of what we have read and then to write, we're getting our brains fit. So what we really want to do in education is to have very fit brains, brains that can very quickly absorb lots and lots of complex data, not necessarily in the form of words. It might be just the form of data or lumps of pottery, but they can absorb data in large quantities. Then they can think analytically, what does this signify? What's the pattern here? And then they can communicate to other human beings by writing or by speaking what they think they've inferred from all of this. These are the things that make our brains fit. And there is no doubt in my mind that in a world of very powerful computers that can not only be large language models, but can also do scientific research, our brains need to be super fit. So I think just get into the mental gym, people. I say to the students at the University of Austin, one day I'm going to come in here, I'm going to tell you, you've got 2 days to read War and Peace. And you're going to be just shut in the library with the book. And then you're going to come out and I'm going to ask you, what's the meaning of this book? That's the kind of thing that a smart person can do.
Yeah, but Neil, so let me ask you this, because this is what I wrestle with all the time, right? Which is, and I love your two examples of exercise. So the example I sort of give is sometimes getting on the treadmill. And the reason that we may get off the treadmill very quickly is because our limbic system prioritizes quick rewards and conserving energy, right? This is why behavior change is so hard. So what I would posit here is that I see young people, by the way, so fit these days too, high school, college, and it's part of the culture, I think, but also there is a huge incentive for them to get fit, right? They will look attractive to other people. It's almost like what drives us as a species, et cetera. And the challenge that I find that I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you incentivize students? Because students aren't incentivized by critical thinking, and they're not incentivized by learning. They're incentivized by, will they get the grade that, I mean, what you hear all the time, like, I'll just get into the great college and then I'll figure it out. Or I'll just get into the great law school and then I'll figure out all that kind of stuff. But we have set up a system that you were referring to earlier, which is grades are the holy grail. It's the incentive structure. So I'm wondering, when you think about that, I feel like the internal incentive structures is broken, no?
I think the employers have incentives too. The elite employers know that, for example, the Harvard degree can't really be worth what it used to be worth when the only grade that's given at Harvard is A. So the perception that grade inflation has caused a very serious decline in standards at the established institutions incentivize the best employers to find other ways of assessing ability. So you don't get hired by the big tech companies or the big Wall Street companies just on the basis of your GPA anymore, because they figured out over the last 10 years that's not a good signal at all. So I think one of the interesting things that's happening is that recruitment is becoming more and more creative. I think of some of the quant hedge funds and how they recruit. It's actually by setting a whole bunch of examination type challenges to the would-be entry-level people. So I think the system's changing because there's an incentive, if you're an employer, to find out the really smart people, as opposed to the people who graduating summa, who took all the soft courses. I think what we're talking about here is partly how do we make young people care as much about their brains as they care about their bodies?